They say the worst betrayals happen in broad daylight. Mia Shaw learned this when she walked into the cathedral on her wedding morning and found her groom already at the altar, with her younger sister's hand in his. Not as a bridesmaid, but as his bride. The white silk gown Mia had spent months being fitted for now draped Lila's smaller frame, and Cassius, the man who'd kissed Mia breathless in the moonlight just 2 nights before, stared at Lila like she was the only woman in the world. What Mia didn't know yet was that the betrayal was just beginning, that by nightfall she'd be left for dead in the forbidden forest, that she'd wake to a wolf with golden eyes and dangerous truths, and that the real wedding had been arranged 16 years ago by the most important woman in her life. Some promises are written in blood, and some are carved so deeply into your bones that when the right person finally touches, you don't just remember, you come alive. Mia couldn't sleep. Wedding Eve jitters, her handmaid Bess had said with a knowing smile, helping her into her nightgown. Perfectly normal for a bride. But it wasn't nerves that kept Mia awake. It was the letter she'd found slipped under her chamber door at sunset. The paper was expensive, cream-colored, sealed with unfamiliar red wax. No family crest she recognized, just 2 lines written in elegant script. The Leiden family has made their choice. It isn't you. Her hands had shaken so badly she'd nearly dropped it into the fireplace. Some cruel joke, she'd told herself. Wedding day pranks weren't uncommon among the territorial families. Hazing the bride was practically tradition. But something about those words had burrowed under her skin and refused to let go. Was it a warning? Now, standing in the pre-dawn darkness with her wedding gown laid out like a corpse on the bed, Mia felt that same crawling unease. She pressed her palm against the cool window glass, watching the estate grounds below. Lanterns bobbed between the gardens as servants prepared for the ceremony. The cathedral bells would ring in 3 hours. 3 hours until she became Cassius Leiden's wife. She should have been excited. Cassius was handsome, charming, well-connected. The Leiden family's proposal had arrived 6 months ago, like an answer to prayers Mia hadn't dared speak aloud. With her father dead, the Shaw family's coffers were nearly empty, their political influence evaporating like morning mist. Her stepmother Margot had made it clear. Mia needed to marry well, or they'd lose everything. Cassius had seemed perfect. During their courtship, he'd brought her books of poetry, walked with her through the orchard, listened when she talked about her mother. The real one, not Margot. He'd even made her laugh, which felt like a small miracle after years of living in a house where happiness was rationed like winter grain. But there had been something, hadn't there? A distance in his eyes sometimes, the way he'd pull back when she leaned in. The conversations that felt rehearsed, like he was playing a role in a theater production. Mia had told herself she was imagining it, that love would grow after the vows, the way everyone said it would. The sun rose blood red over the eastern hills. By the time Bess arrived to do her hair, Mia had buried her doubts in a place so deep she almost believed they didn't exist. The cathedral was beautiful. White roses wound through every pew. Candles flickered in alcoves, casting golden light across stone walls that had witnessed 3 centuries of unions. Mia's dress, ivory silk embroidered with seed pearls, whispered against the floor as she walked. She was alone. Margot had insisted on arriving early with Lila to greet guests. "Someone needs to represent the family properly," her stepmother had said, her tone suggesting Mia was incapable of such tasks. So Mia walked to her own wedding unaccompanied, her bouquet clutched in white-knuckled hands. The cathedral doors were already open. She should have known then. Should have heard the warning in the way the priest's voice carried through the vaulted space. Too loud, too jovial. Should have noticed the guests turned the wrong way, their attention fixed forward instead of watching for the bride's entrance. But Mia was 23 and still trying very hard to believe in happy endings. She stepped through the doorway and couldn't believe her eyes. Before we continue, please take 2 seconds to like this video. Every sound suddenly became muffled, distant, like she was underwater. Her vision narrowed to a single, impossible point. The altar, where Cassius stood in his formal coat, dark hair gleaming in the candlelight. Beside him, wearing ivory silk and seed pearls, wearing Mia's dress, or rather a perfect copy of it, stood Lila, Mia's little sister. Her sweet, gentle Lila with the copper curls and the laugh like wind chimes and the subtle scar on her chin from when Mia had caught her before she fell down the stairs at age 6. The priest was speaking. "Do you take this woman?" Lila's voice, barely a whisper, but clear enough to echo through Mia's skull like a death knell. "I do." And Cassius, staring at Lila with an expression Mia had never seen on his face before, raw, open, completely unguarded, said, "I do." The bouquet slipped from Mia's fingers. White roses scattered across stone. 200 guests turned to look at her. Some had the decency to appear shocked. Others, mostly Margot's friends, wore expressions of barely concealed satisfaction. Margot herself sat in the front pew, resplendent in burgundy silk, and didn't look at Mia at all. Lila did, though. For just a moment, their eyes met across the cathedral. And in that moment, Mia saw everything: guilt, grief, and something harder underneath, a choice made and accepted. Mia couldn't breathe. She turned and ran. Behind her, the cathedral erupted in whispers. She heard her name, nervous laughter, heard Margot say something about misunderstanding and confused girl. Mia didn't stop running until she reached the courtyard. Her lungs burned, her vision blurred. The world had become untethered from reality, spinning in directions that made no sense. "Mia." She spun. Cassius stood in the cathedral doorway, still in his wedding finery. He didn't look guilty. He looked relieved. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way," he said. Something in Mia's chest cracked. "This way? Is there a better way to find out my mate married my sister?" "It wasn't supposed to happen like this. You weren't supposed to come." "I wasn't..." Mia's voice broke in disbelief. "It's my wedding." "It was never really your wedding, though, was it?" Cassius took a step closer. His voice was gentle, which somehow made it worse. "Be honest, Mia. Did you love me?" She opened her mouth, but the truth stuck in her throat. "Exactly," Cassius said. "This marriage was arranged. Duty. But what Lila and I have, that's real." "How long?" Mia's voice sounded hollow. 3 months. We didn't mean for it to happen. But once it did..." He shrugged, actually shrugged. "I couldn't go through with marrying you when my heart belongs to someone else. You deserve better than that." The audacity of it, framing his betrayal as mercy, stole what little breath Mia had left. Behind him, 2 figures emerged from the cathedral. Margot, her face a mask of cold fury, and a woman Mia didn't recognize, tall, angular, dressed in traveling clothes despite the formal occasion. "This is taking too long," the stranger said. Her voice was sharp, commanding. "Finish it." "Mother," Cassius said. "Give me a moment." Mother? Mia's mind struggled to process. Cassius's mother had died years ago. Everyone knew that, except she clearly hadn't. "We don't have moments," the woman snapped. She looked at Margot. "Is the girl always this slow?" Margot's smile was knife-thin. "She gets it from her real mother. Sentimental. Weak. Then make it clear." Cassius's mother, because that's who she had to be, gestured impatiently. "Tell her the truth." Margot approached Mia with the expression she usually reserved for spoiled meat. Your mother made a mistake 23 years ago. A blood pact with the Silverheart Pack, promising you to their alpha as his mate when you came of age. The words made no sense to her. What are you talking about? Wolves, dear. Your precious mother came from wolf blood. She promised you to animals. Margot's lip curled. I've spent years trying to break that pact. This marriage to Cassius was supposed to do it. Bind you to human nobility before the wolves could claim you. But then he fell for Lila, and well, she smiled. 2 birds, 1 stone. Lila gets her love story, and you get nothing, Cassius's mother finished. The way it should be. Mia's legs felt weak. This isn't real. You're lying. Your mother saved Troy Silverheart's life, the woman said. The alpha of the Silverheart Pack. My husband's firstborn, before he found me. Her voice dripped venom on the word. Your mother saved him, and my foolish husband offered a blood pact in gratitude. Wait, Cassius isn't... Mia looked at him now. The golden flecks in his eyes she'd thought were just unusual coloring. The way he moved, too fluid, too quick. You're a wolf? Half, he corrected. Enough to claim pack leadership if Troy dies without producing an heir, which he will, because you're not going to complete that bond. The courtyard was emptying. Guests were leaving, shooting curious glances their way, but not intervening. This was pack business, Mia realized. Nobility didn't interfere with pack business. She was alone. What happens now? Mia heard herself ask. Margot and Cassius's mother exchanged glances. Some unspoken agreement passed between them. Now, Margot said pleasantly, you're going to have an accident, a terrible tragedy. The rejected bride, overcome with grief, wandering too close to the cliffs. These things happen. You're going to kill me? We're going to let gravity do what it does best. Margot gestured, and 2 men emerged from the shadows. Guards Mia recognized from the estate. Their faces were blank, professional. Take Miss Shaw to the cliffs. Make it look like she jumped. Mia looked at Cassius. He wouldn't meet her eyes. Please, she whispered. She hated how small her voice sounded. Cassius, please. We don't love each other, fine. But Lila, I protected her. When Margot was cruel, I took the blame. I gave her my dinner when there wasn't enough. She's my sister. Half-sister, Margot corrected coldly. I love her, Mia said. Doesn't that matter? For a moment, just a heartbeat, something that might have been regret crossed Cassius's face. Then it was gone, replaced by the careful neutrality she'd mistaken for mystery during their courtship. I'm sorry, he said, but I love Lila. We don't need you in the picture. The guards moved forward. She let them take her arms, let them lead her away from the cathedral, away from the last remnants of her old life. The only rebellion she managed was to look back once, searching for Lila in the cathedral doorway. Her sister stood there, still in Mia's copycat dress, Cassius's arm around her waist. Lila was crying, but she didn't say a word. The guards dragged her toward the cliff's edge as the sun climbed toward noon. They'd already hit her once when she'd tried to slow their pace. A fist to her ribs that had driven the air from her lungs and sent her sprawling in the dirt. The pain was still sharp, radiating with each breath. What did I ever do to you? Mia asked quietly as they hauled her back to her feet. The older guard looked uncomfortable. You're not meant to exist. That pact, it's a threat to natural order. Cassius marrying a human, keeping things clean. That's how it should be. I'm human too. Are you? The younger guard smirked, tightening his grip on her arm. With wolf blood, mother, and a pact. Binding you to beasts? You're a mistake waiting to happen. They reached the cliff's edge. Below, rocks jutted up like teeth. Beyond that, the dark line of Silverheart Forest. "This is far enough," the older one said. He still wouldn't meet her eyes. "Just make it quick." But when the younger guard grabbed her arm to throw her over, Mia twisted. Pure instinct. She wasn't trying to escape. There was nowhere to go, but her body fought anyway. She fell wrong. Not over the cliff, but sideways, tumbling down the rocky slope that led toward the forest below. Her ribs cracked against stone. Her head struck something hard. "Damn it," the younger guard yelped. "She went into Silverheart territory." "Leave her," the older one said quickly. "Wolves will finish the job, probably worse than the fall would have been. But if she reaches, she won't. Look at her. She's half dead already. Come on, before something comes investigating." Their footsteps retreated. Mia lay broken on the forest floor, blood in her mouth, vision swimming. Her body wanted to stay still, wait for death, but by sheer force of will, she crawled, inch by agonizing inch, deeper into the forbidden forest. The Silverheart Forest earned its name from the way moonlight turned the birch trees silver. That's what the stories said anyway. Mia had never been close enough to know. Everyone knew the forest was forbidden. It was the territory of wolves who didn't follow human rules, who'd carved out their own kingdom in the wild places where civilization feared to tread. Mia crawled 50 feet before her arms gave out. She sank down against a fallen log, her fancy wedding boots sinking into moss. The dress Bess had helped her into that morning was torn and dirty. Her carefully braided hair had come loose. She probably looked like exactly what she was, a woman who'd lost everything in the span of 3 hours. The worst part was the silence. Not the forest. The forest was full of sound. Birds calling, leaves rustling, something small moving through the underbrush. The silence was inside her, the place where questions should have been, where anger or grief should be howling. Mia sat there as the sun moved across the sky. She should move deeper into the forest, she supposed. Or maybe she should try to find a way around the territory, make it to the next settlement, start over somewhere Margot's reach didn't extend. But she was so tired. And some traitorous part of her wondered if the guards were right. If she was a mistake. An obligation no one wanted, not even the wolves who supposedly had a claim on her. Her mother had died when Mia was 7. She barely remembered her, just impressions, gentle hands, a voice that sang lullabies in a language Mia didn't understand, the smell of lavender and wood smoke. Had her mother really been wolf blood? Had she really made this pact? And if so, why hadn't she warned Mia? The sun was starting to dip toward the horizon when Mia heard footsteps. She looked up, thinking the guards had come back to finish the job. Instead, she saw 3 men emerging from the deeper forest. No, not men. Wolves. Even in human form, there was something unmistakably other about them. The way they moved, too fluid and predatory. The way they watched her, heads tilted, assessing. The one in front was massive, easily 6.5 feet, with dark hair and scars across his knuckles. Behind him, 2 younger wolves flanked him like sentries. "You're on Silverheart land," the scarred one said. His voice was a rumble. "State your business." Mia's mouth was dry. "I was thrown from the cliffs." The wolf studied her. His nostrils flared slightly, scenting the air. "You're bleeding." "Cracked ribs, I think. They weren't gentle." "Who sent you?" "Does it matter?" Mia leaned her head back against the log. She was so tired. "I'm nobody, a mistake. Just let me lie here and eventually I'll stop being your problem." "You're Shaw's daughter." She opened her eyes. "You knew my mother?" "No, but our Alpha did." The wolf crouched down, bringing himself to eye level. "She saved his life. Made a pact. So I've heard, repeatedly. Today has been very informative about how unwanted I am. The wolf didn't answer. He was looking at something over her shoulder, his expression shifting to one of deep respect. Alpha, he said, standing. Mia turned her head. Another man emerged from between the trees. He was tall, lean muscle under worn leather and wool. His hair was dark bronze, caught back at his nape, but it was his eyes that struck her. Gold. Pure, molten gold, like sunlight through amber. Those eyes were fixed on Mia with an intensity that made her breath catch. Troy, the scarred wolf said, I know who she is. Troy's voice was quiet, rough. He moved closer, dropping to one knee beside Mia. His scent washed over her, pine, rain, and something wild. Who hurt you? Everyone, Mia said truthfully. Pick a name. His jaw tightened. Without asking permission, he reached out and gently probed her ribs. His hands were warm even through the fabric of her dress. Mia should have flinched. He was a stranger, a wolf, everything she'd been taught to fear. But his touch was careful, almost reverent. Broken, he said. 2 ribs. You need a healer. I need a lot of things. A healer seems optimistic. Those gold eyes met hers. Why are you here, Mia Shaw? Hearing her name in his voice did something strange to her chest. You know why. This forest is where people dump their unwanted obligations. Is that what you think? He was still kneeling beside her, close enough that she could see the variations of color in his eyes, gold and bronze and flecks of green. That you're an obligation? I mean, Mia gestured vaguely at the forest around them. Everything about today suggests yes. Troy was quiet for a long moment. Your mother pulled me out of a river when I was 10. I was young, stupid, thought I could take a shortcut through rapids during the spring flood. The current grabbed me. Before I knew it, I was drowning. Mia listened despite herself. She was there, Troy continued, on the bank. I don't know what she was doing that far from human territory, but she saw me go under and she dove in, dragged me to shore, breathed air back into my lungs. His voice went soft. My father was so grateful. He offered her anything in his power to give, and she asked for a promise that when her daughter came of age, I would protect her, keep her safe, offer her a place in our pack if she wanted it. That's not quite the same as a mate bond, Mia said carefully. No. Troy's eyes held hers. The mate bond was my idea. The world went very still. What? You were there, Troy said. When your mother pulled me out of the water, I saw you. You were maybe 6, 7 years old, hiding behind her skirts, peeking out at the big, scary wolf. A small, almost sad smile crossed his face. You had dirt on your face and flowers in your hair. You came up to me while I was still coughing up river water, and you patted my hand, and you said, "It's okay. Mama will fix you." Mia's throat was tight. I was just a kid, Troy continued quietly. But I remembered you. Years later, when I came of age and my father reminded me of the pact, I told him I wanted it to include a mate bond when we were grown. He met her eyes. Because I never forgot that brave little girl who tried to comfort a drowning wolf boy. I wanted to know who she'd become. Not once have I thought of you as an obligation. You watched me? Mia's voice came out strange. Not in a... He looked uncomfortable. I kept my distance, but yes, I made sure you were protected, made sure threats stayed away from you. Something stirred now in the back of Mia's memory. A golden-eyed wolf at the edge of the orchard. A shadow that scared off the boys who'd been tormenting her in school. The night her mother died, and she'd woken to find a wolf sitting outside her window keeping vigil. That was you. Always me, Troy said quietly. Mia didn't know what to do with this information. It was too much, layered on top of too much. Why didn't you claim the pact before? If you've been waiting for me? Because I wanted you to choose, Troy said simply. A bond forced isn't a bond at all. I was waiting for your 23rd birthday. I was going to introduce myself properly. Court you, if you'd let me. Give you time to decide if this was what you wanted. His expression darkened. Then I heard Cassius was courting you. Why didn't you stop it then? Troy was quiet for a moment. Because he could give you something I couldn't. A safe, quiet life in human society. No pack politics. No territorial wars. No target on your back from wolves who hate the pact. He met her eyes, and the pain there was raw. I thought, maybe you'd be happier that way. Protected. Even if it killed me to watch you with him, at least you'd be safe from the dangers that come with being mine. That's why you didn't interfere? I told myself I was giving you a choice, but the truth is, I was trying to do the right thing for you, even if it destroyed me. His voice roughened. I didn't realize until too late that Cassius wasn't offering safety at all, that his mother was using him to trap you, break the pact, and clear his path to my position. By the time I understood, you were already in danger. Mia's head was spinning. Everything today had been built on lies. Cassius, Margot, even Lila. But this man, this wolf, was offering her something no one else had. Truth. So, what happens now? She asked. Troy stood, offering her his hand. Now you come with me. Let our healer fix your ribs. Rest. Eat. And then... He paused. Then you decide what you want. The pact gives me the right to claim you as mate. But I won't, unless you choose it. What if I don't? Then I'll protect you anyway. His hand remained outstretched. You'll always have a place in Silverheart territory. No obligations. Mia looked at his hand. Calloused, scarred, steady. Everyone wants something, she thought. What did Troy really want? But she was so tired. Too tired to parse motives or second guess, so she reached out and took his hand. Troy's fingers closed around hers, warm and sure. He pulled her up carefully, mindful of her ribs. Can you walk? He asked. I can try. That's all I need. He looked at the scarred wolf. Dane, get ahead and tell Vera we have an injured patient. Jace, scout the perimeter. I want to know if anyone followed her. The wolves melted into the forest without question. Troy kept his hand around Mia's. Come on, let's get you home. Home. The word echoed strangely. The Shaw estate had never been home, not after her mother died and Margot took over. It had been a place to survive, nothing more. But as Troy led her deeper into the Silverheart forest, Mia found herself wondering if maybe, just maybe, home was something you could choose. The Silverheart Pack's settlement was nothing like Mia expected. She'd imagined caves or crude shelters cobbled together from branches. The stories about wolves always emphasized their wild, savage nature. Civilization's outcasts, barely contained. Instead, she found herself in a village that looked more prosperous than her own estate. Wooden houses with carved shutters circled a central square. Gardens overflowed with late-season vegetables. Children played near a well, their laughter bright in the evening air. And everywhere were people who moved like Troy did, fluid and watchful, human, but not quite. They stared as Troy led her through, not with hostility, but with curiosity, and something else, recognition. Do they know who I am? Mia murmured. I told them about you, Troy said. Years ago, when I made the pact. They've been expecting you." "Well, that's not terrifying at all." His mouth quirked. "They'll love you. Give them time." He led her to a house at the forest's edge, larger than the others. Inside, it was warm and clean, with herbs hanging from the rafters and a fire crackling in the hearth. An older woman looked up from grinding something in a mortar. Her hair was silver white, but her eyes were sharp. "So this is Shaw's daughter." "Vera?" Troy said. "She needs healing. 2 broken ribs." Vera set down her mortar and approached Mia, looking her up and down with the clinical detachment of a healer. "Undress. Let me see." Mia glanced at Troy. "I'll be outside," he said, but he paused at the door, turning back. His eyes raked over her once, not leering, but protective, possessive in a way that sent heat curling through her belly despite everything. "You're safe here. No one touches you again, not while I'm breathing." The fierce certainty in his voice should have frightened her. Instead, it made something in her chest flutter. Then he was gone. Mia turned back to find Vera watching her with amusement. "Well, don't be shy. I've seen worse than bruises." It took effort to unlace the wedding gown. Her ribs screamed with every movement. Vera helped eventually, clicking her tongue at the elaborate fastenings. "Humans and their nonsense," she muttered. "Who needs this many buttons?" When the dress finally pooled at Mia's feet, Vera's expression darkened. The bruising across Mia's ribs was spectacular, dark purple spreading across her right side. Men did this? Guards following orders. Orders to beat a woman half to death? Vera's hands glowed faintly as she pressed them to Mia's ribs. The pain receded, replaced by warmth. "What kind of humans are you living with?" "The kind who don't want me alive." Mia closed her eyes, letting the healing magic work. "My stepmother. She's been waiting for an excuse." "Because of the pact?" "Because she hates me. The pact just gave her an opportunity." Vera was quiet as she worked. After a few minutes, she said, "Troy's been watching you for 16 years. Did he tell you that?" "He mentioned it. Made himself sick over you sometimes, especially when you were younger and that stepmother of yours was cruel. He'd come back from watching you, and he'd be—" Vera shook her head, helpless, wanting to intervene, but knowing he couldn't without making things worse. "Why not? Revealing himself would have put a target on you. Pack politics are complicated. Troy has enemies, wolves who think his father was wrong to make that pact, who think mixing wolf blood with humans weakens us. If they'd known how much Troy cared about you—" She met Mia's eyes. "They would have used you against him." Mia absorbed this. "So he protected me by staying away? Until you were old enough to make your own choice, old enough to protect yourself, if needed." Vera stepped back. "There. Your ribs are healed. You'll be sore for a day or 2, but the bone's whole." Mia ran her hand over her ribs in awe. The pain was gone, replaced by a dull ache. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." Vera handed her a simple wool dress from a drawer. "Put this on, then we need to talk about what happens next." The dress fit well enough, loose and comfortable after the constraining gown. Once Mia was dressed, Vera gestured to a chair by the fire. "Sit. I'll make tea." They sat in silence while water boiled. Outside, Mia could hear the village settling for evening, doors closing, voices calling goodnight, the sound of footsteps on packed earth. "I don't know what I'm doing here," Mia said finally. "You're healing." "After that, I mean, Troy said I could stay, that I'd be safe, but I don't know if I can do this." "Do what?" "Be his mate, complete the bond, whatever that means." Mia wrapped her arms around herself. "I know it's not his fault. I know he's been nothing but kind, But I can't, her voice cracked. I can't trust my own judgment anymore. I thought Cassius cared about me. I thought Lila would never betray me. I've been wrong about everything. Vera poured tea into 2 wooden cups. Wrong about Cassius, maybe, but not about everything. How do you know? Because you're here. You took Troy's hand. You walked into this territory even though you were terrified, because some part of you knew this was right. Vera sipped her tea. That's not faulty judgment. That's instinct. You mean desperation? Maybe, but desperation has its own wisdom. They drank in silence for a while. Then Vera said, "Do you know what a mate bond actually is?" "Not really. Margot always refused to talk about wolf customs, said they were beneath us." "Of course she did." Vera set down her cup. "A mate bond is a soul-deep connection between 2 wolves. When it's completed, through a formal claiming ceremony and consummation, it links the mates for life. You feel each other's emotions. Know when the other is in danger. Some mates can even share thoughts." Mia's stomach fluttered. "That sounds intense." "It is. It's also rare. Most wolves never find their true mate. They marry for politics or convenience like humans do. But when you find your mate..." Vera's expression softened. "There's nothing like it. Nothing in the world." "Troy thinks I'm his mate?" "Troy knows you are. He's known since you were both kids." Vera leaned forward. "But here's what he won't tell you, because he's too scared of influencing your choice. He's been alone for 16 years because of you. Turned down every match, every eligible female, because he was waiting for you. And now you're here, and he's still giving you the choice to walk away." "That doesn't sound like a good deal for him." "No," Vera agreed, "but it's because he puts you first." Mia stared into her tea. Outside, full dark had fallen. Somewhere in the village, someone was playing a flute, a haunting melody that spoke of longing and distance. "I don't know if I can be what he needs," Mia whispered. "Then be what you need," Vera said. "Figure out who Mia Shaw is when no one else is making choices for her. Troy will wait." There was a knock at the door. "Come in," Vera called. Troy entered, ducking slightly under the doorframe. He'd changed clothes, the formal leathers replaced by simple wool and linen. Somehow it made him look younger, less intimidating. His eyes found Mia immediately. "How are your ribs?" "Healed. Vera's very good." "She is." He looked at the healer. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Thank the girl for being tough enough to survive the day she had." Vera stood. "I'm going to check on the Brennan baby. You 2 talk." Alone with Troy, Mia felt suddenly awkward. This man claimed to have loved her for 16 years. This stranger who wasn't quite a stranger, because she remembered him now. Flashes of gold eyes in the darkness, a presence at the edges of her life. "You don't have to stay here," Troy said. "In Vera's house, I mean. I have a home on the northern edge, plenty of room, you'd have your own space." "Is that where you want me?" "I want you wherever you feel safest." Mia stood, setting down her tea. "Can I ask you something? Anything? Why did Cassius do it? Switch me for Lila?" She needed to understand. Troy's jaw tightened. "Because he loves her, as much as my brother is capable of love." He moved to the fire, staring into the flames. "Cassius has always wanted what I have. My title, my pack, my respect. But I don't think he ever wanted you specifically, just the power you represented. When he met Lila and actually felt something, he saw an opportunity. Break your heart, break the pact, and get the girl he wanted, all at once. Efficient. Cruel." Troy looked at her. "I should have stopped it sooner. I knew he was courting you. Knew his mother was behind it. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated with himself. I wanted to see if you'd choose him, if you'd be happy with a human life. Would you have let me go if I'd married him? The silence stretched between them. Yes, Troy said finally. It would have destroyed me, but yes. The honesty in his voice made something in Mia's chest ache. Here was a man who'd watched her from the shadows, who'd been willing to let her go if it meant she'd be happy. I don't know what I want yet, Mia said carefully. I need time to think, to understand what all this means. Take all the time you need. But she hesitated. I'd like to stay. In your home, if the offer stands. I don't want to be alone tonight. Something shifted in Troy's expression. Relief and maybe hope, carefully contained. The offer always stands. He led her through the village as night deepened. Wolves nodded to Troy as they passed, and their eyes on Mia were curious, but not unkind. A few even smiled. Troy's home was set back from the others, nestled against the tree line. It was larger than most, built from stone and timber, with windows that glowed with firelight. Inside was a single open room, a kitchen area with a well-stocked hearth, a sitting space with worn furniture, and a sleeping loft accessible by a ladder. Books lined makeshift shelves. Maps covered one wall. It was tidy but lived in, a home rather than a house. The loft is yours, Troy said. I'll sleep down here. Mia climbed the ladder and found a space that was surprisingly cozy. A large bed piled with furs, a small table with a candle, a window overlooking the forest. She should have been exhausted. Instead, she was somehow wired, her mind racing. Troy? She called down. Yes. Can you tell me about my mother? The real story, not the version Margot told. She heard him moving below, settling into a chair. Then his voice, quiet in the darkness. Your mother's name was Elena. She came from the Rivercrest Pack originally, small territory, good people. When she was 17, she fell in love with your father, human merchant passing through. Her pack disapproved, but she chose him anyway. Left her territory to marry him. Mia lay back on the furs, listening. She kept her wolf blood hidden, Troy continued, but she never forgot what she was. That day at the river, when she saved me, she was visiting her old pack's border territory. You were with her. I think she was trying to teach you about your heritage, even if she couldn't fully explain it yet. Why not tell me? Because wolf blood in humans is complicated. Sometimes it manifests, sometimes it doesn't. She probably wanted to wait until you were older, see if you showed signs. Did I? Show signs? He paused for a long moment. Yes. Mia sat up. What kind of signs? Come down here. She climbed back down the ladder. Troy was by the fire, and he gestured for her to sit across from him. Hold out your hand, he said. She did. He placed his palm against hers. A simple touch, skin to skin. Heat flooded through Mia's body. Not painful, but intense. A tingling that started at her palm and raced up her arm, spreading through her chest. The room suddenly seemed sharper. She could hear Troy's heartbeat, smell the cedar in his clothes, feel the warmth of the fire as if it were touching her skin directly. What is that? She gasped. Recognition, Troy said softly. Your wolf blood recognizing mine. It's dormant in you, still needs to be awakened, but it's there. He pulled his hand away, and the sensation faded, leaving Mia breathless. How do I awaken it? Completing the mate bond would do it? Or spending time in pack territory, around other wolves? Sometimes it happens naturally with age. He watched her carefully. Does this frighten you? I don't know. Mia looked at her palm, half expecting to see something different there. I've spent my whole life thinking I was human. Finding out I'm not. You're both. That's not a weakness. It's a gift. Margot didn't think so? Well, Margot is a fool. The words were harsh, but Troy's voice was gentle. She saw your wolf blood as a threat. But Mia, what you are, what you could become, it's extraordinary. Something in his tone made her look up. The firelight caught his eyes, turning them molten. How do you know? She asked quietly. I've imagined it. Hoped for it. He leaned forward. A woman who knows both worlds, who can move between human and wolf society, who's strong enough to survive what you survived today and still show kindness. His voice dropped. You have no idea how rare that is. The air between them felt charged. Troy, Mia whispered. If I choose this, choose you, what happens? We complete the bond. I claim you as mate in front of the pack. He stopped, seeming to struggle with words. We build a life together, face whatever comes together. And I spend every day of my life making sure you never regret choosing me. That's a big promise. It's the only one that matters, Mia. She should have been scared, skeptical. Yet against her best judgment, she felt something unfamiliar stirring now in her chest. The possibility of love? Or maybe the beginning of trust? I need time, she said again, but I'm not saying no. Troy's smile was small but genuine. That's more than I hoped for. She went back to the loft, and this time sleep found her quickly. Mia woke to sunlight streaming through the window and the smell of bread baking. For a moment, she couldn't remember where she was. Then it all came back. The wedding, the betrayal, the forest. Troy. She climbed down to find him at the hearth, pulling fresh bread from the coals. You cook? She said. He glanced up, and something in his expression made her heart stutter. There was such open warmth there, such uncomplicated happiness at seeing her awake. I've lived alone for a long time. Had to learn. He cut a slice and offered it to her with butter. How did you sleep? Better than I expected. She took the bread. It was still warm, and the butter melted immediately. This is good. My mother's recipe, before she died. They ate together in comfortable silence. Outside, the village was waking, voices calling, doors opening, the sound of daily life beginning. What happens today? Mia asked. Whatever you want. I need to meet with my council this morning. Pack business. But you're free to explore, rest, whatever feels right. Can I come to the meeting? Troy paused. It might be intense. Pack politics aren't gentle. Neither was yesterday. I'd like to understand what I'm potentially choosing. He studied her, then nodded. All right, but if it gets to be too much, just say the word. The council met in the central square, under an open-sided pavilion. 5 wolves waited there, including Dane, the scarred male from yesterday, and Vera. The others Mia didn't recognize. They all stood when Troy arrived, and their eyes went to Mia with undisguised curiosity. This is Mia Shaw, Troy said simply. She's here under my protection. Treat her accordingly. The wolves nodded, but Mia could feel their assessment. She was being measured, judged. We have news, Dane said without preamble. Cassius's mother has left the human territories, heading toward the eastern border. Troy's expression darkened. Where, exactly? The Blackstone Pack. A murmur went through the council. That's not good, is it? Mia asked quietly. No, Troy said. The Blackstone Pack has always resented my father's treaties with humans. They see the pact with your mother as a betrayal of wolf purity. So, Cassius's mother is recruiting allies? She's trying to start a war. Troy looked at Dane. What are our defensive positions? They discussed strategy for the next hour, guard rotations, border patrols, contingency plans. Mia listened, absorbing the complexity of pack politics. This wasn't the savage, simplistic world she'd imagined. It was nuanced, strategic, and dangerous. If it comes to conflict, one of the council members said, a woman with iron gray hair, we need to know if the Shaw bond is active. If Mia's wolf blood is awakened, it strengthens our position. If not, she's a liability, another council member finished, a human in wolf territory during wartime. She's not a liability. Troy's voice cut like a blade. She's under my protection. With respect, Alpha, your protection doesn't stop arrows, or fire, or a coordinated attack. The gray-haired woman looked at Mia. Can you fight, girl? I was never trained, Mia admitted, but I'm willing to learn. Something shifted in the woman's expression. Respect, maybe. At least she's honest. All right, I'll take her for combat training. If Blackstone comes for us, everyone fights. Not necessary, Troy started. It is necessary, Mia interrupted. She looked at him steadily. I'm not going to hide while people fight for my safety. If I'm staying here, even temporarily, I need to be able to defend myself. Pride flickered across Troy's face. All right. Risa will train you. The meeting continued, but Mia's mind was racing. There could be a war because of her. When the council finally dispersed, Troy caught her arm gently. You don't have to do this. Combat training is brutal. I want to. She met his eyes. I spent years being a pawn, a burden. I won't be that here. You're not a burden. Then let me prove it. He searched her face, then nodded slowly. Just promise me something. What? If it gets to be too much, the training, the politics, any of it, tell me. Don't suffer in silence trying to prove something. The concern in his voice did something to her. Cassius had never looked at her like this, like her well-being mattered more than appearances. I promise, she said. Combat training with Risa was exactly as brutal as advertised. The older wolf had Mia in the practice yard by midday, running drills until her muscles screamed. How to fall without injuring yourself. How to use an opponent's momentum against them. How to find vulnerabilities in someone larger and stronger. You're human-shaped right now, Risa said, circling Mia like a predator. That means you're smaller, weaker, slower than most wolves, so you need to be smarter. She lunged, without warning. Mia barely dodged, stumbling. Better, Risa said, but not good enough, again. They went until Mia could barely stand. Other wolves gathered to watch, some offering advice, others just curious about the human trying to keep up with pack training. Troy appeared near sunset, leaning against a post at the yard's edge. He didn't interfere, just watched with an unreadable expression. When Risa finally called a halt, Mia collapsed in the dirt, sweating and shaking. You did well, Risa said grudgingly. For a first day. We'll go again tomorrow. Mia just nodded, too exhausted to speak. Troy approached, offering her a water skin. Drink slowly. She obeyed, the cool water like heaven on her parched throat. You're stubborn, Troy observed. Is that a compliment? Always. He pulled her to her feet carefully. Come on. Vera has a salve for sore muscles. As they walked back through the village, Mia was acutely aware of the wolves watching them, judging whether she was worthy of their alpha. They think I'm weak, she said quietly. They think you're brave. Troy's voice was firm. You could have hidden today. Instead, you trained. That matters. At his home, Troy heated water for washing and gave Mia privacy while she cleaned off the day's grime. When she emerged, he had food waiting, stew and bread, simple but good. Can I ask you something? Mia said as they ate. Always. Why me? What made you so sure? Troy was quiet for a long time. Then he said, Do you remember your mother's funeral? Mia nodded. She'd been 7, barely understanding that Mama wasn't coming back. You stood at her grave after everyone else had left, Troy said. Just you, alone in the rain, and you sang the lullaby she used to sing to you. In the old language, the wolf language. You probably didn't even know what the words meant. Mia's throat tightened. She did remember that. The need to give her mother something, some goodbye. I was there, Troy said, watching from the trees, and I heard you singing, and He stopped, struggling with emotion. I knew. This girl who'd lost everything, who was alone and grieving, and she was still singing, still finding beauty in the worst moment of her life. That's who you are, Mia. That's why I waited. Because a person like that's someone worth waiting a lifetime for. A tear slipped down Mia's cheek. She wiped it away quickly, but Troy saw. I'm sorry, he said immediately. I didn't mean to make you cry. No. She caught his hand. You're the first person who's ever seen me. Really seen me. Not what I could do for them or what I represented. Just me. His hand was warm around hers, solid and real. I see you, Troy said quietly. I've always seen you. The air between them felt charged, intimate. Mia found herself leaning closer, drawn by something she didn't fully understand. Troy went very still, his eyes searching hers. Mia, I'm not ready, she whispered. For the bond, for forever. But She took a shaky breath. I'd like to try, to see if this could work. That's all I need, Troy said. His thumb brushed across her knuckles, a gentle touch that sent warmth spiraling through her. We'll go as slow as you need. They sat there, hands joined, as the fire burned low and night settled around them. For the first time since the cathedral, Mia felt something like hope. The next week passed in a blur of training, learning, and slowly settling into pack life. Risa worked Mia mercilessly in the practice yard, but with each session, Mia grew stronger, faster, more confident. She was never going to match a full-blood wolf, but she learned to use her smaller size as an advantage, learned to anticipate and evade rather than meet force with force. Vera taught her about pack hierarchy and customs, how to read the subtle body language that wolves use to communicate, how to navigate the complex web of relationships that kept the pack functioning. And Troy was constant. He never pushed, never demanded, but he was always there, walking her home after training, sharing meals, sitting by the fire while she read from his collection of books, teaching her about the forest, the pack, the world she was slowly becoming part of. And bit by bit, Mia found herself falling, not the desperate, grasping way she'd mistaken for love with Cassius. This was quieter, deeper. It was in the way Troy laughed at her dry humor, the way he listened when she talked about her mother, her childhood, her fears, the way he looked at her like she was the most fascinating person he'd ever met. It was in the small touches, his hand at her back when she stumbled, fingers brushing hers when he handed her something, the way he'd tuck a strand of hair behind her ear without thinking. 2 weeks after arriving in Silverheart territory, Mia woke in the middle of the night to find Troy sitting by the fire, staring into the flames. She climbed down from the loft. Having trouble sleeping? He looked up, surprised. Did I wake you? No, She sat beside him. What's wrong, Troy? Nothing's wrong. Troy. He sighed. Scouts reported movement near the eastern border. Blackstone Pack is mobilizing. Fear spiked through her. How long do we have? A week, maybe 2. He looked at her, and his expression was raw. I should send you away, somewhere safe, far from Pack territory. No, don't do that. Mia, no, she repeated firmly. I'm not running. I'm not letting someone else make my choices. This isn't about choice, it's about keeping you alive. And what about you? She turned to face him fully. Who keeps you alive? I'm the alpha. You don't get to die for me. The words came out fierce, surprising them both. You've waited 16 years, Troy. I'm not losing you to a war before I've even had a chance to... She stopped. He was watching her intently. Chance to what? He asked quietly. Mia's heart was pounding. This was it, the edge of the cliff. She could step back, stay safe, keep her walls up, or she could jump. Chance to love you, she whispered. Troy went completely still. I'm not there yet, Mia continued, the words tumbling out. I'm still figuring out what I want, but She took a shaky breath. I think I could. Love you. And I'd like the chance to find out. Mia. Her name was reverent in his mouth. You don't have to. I know I don't. That's the point. She reached for his hand, lacing their fingers together. You've given me nothing but choice. So I'm choosing to stay, I'm choosing to fight, and I'm choosing... She met his eyes. You. Troy's breath caught. Are you sure? About the bond? Not yet. But about wanting you in my life? Yes. He pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her carefully, like she was something precious. Mia pressed her face against his chest and felt his heart racing, as fast as hers. We'll figure the rest out, Troy murmured into her hair. Together. Together, Mia agreed. They stayed like that until dawn, holding each other while the fire burned to embers and the world waited outside. When the attack came 3 days later, Mia was in the practice yard with Riza. The warning horn split the morning air, a long, mournful note that sent the entire village into motion. Blackstone Pack, Riza said grimly. East border. Let's get going. Mia followed her to the village center where Troy was already organizing defenses. His voice was calm, authoritative, cutting through the chaos. Children and elders to the safe houses, warriors to the east perimeter, archers take positions in the trees. He saw Mia and his expression flickered, relief and fear warring across his face. You need to get to safety. No chance. She grabbed a practice blade from the weapons rack. I fight. Mia? We already had this conversation. I fight. Risa clapped her on the shoulder. The girl's got spine. Let her prove it. Troy looked torn. Then he nodded once, sharply. Stay close to Risa. Do exactly what she says. They moved toward the east border in formation. Through the trees, Mia could see figures approaching. Dozens of wolves in human form, armed with blades and bows. Leading them was a woman with unmistakably sharp features and cold eyes, Cassius's mother. Troy Silverheart, she called out. Surrender the girl and we'll leave in peace. You know I can't do that, Cora, Troy called back. Then you choose war. Cora's smile was vicious. For a half-blood human who isn't even properly claimed, is she really worth your pack's lives? Before Troy could answer, Mia stepped forward. Stop using me as an excuse, she said clearly. You don't want peace. You want Troy dead so your son can claim pack leadership. Cora's eyes narrowed. Bold words from a girl playing at being wolf. I'm not playing. Mia felt something stirring inside her. Heat, power, something wild trying to wake. And I'm done being everyone's pawn. Then you can die like the rest of them, Cora snarled. The Blackstone wolves charged. What followed was chaos. Mia had trained for 2 weeks, but training and real combat were different things. She ducked a blade, used the move Risa taught her to throw an attacker off balance, barely avoided an arrow. Around her, wolves were shifting, human forms becoming fur and fangs, the air filled with snarls and the clash of steel. She lost track of Risa, lost track of everything except surviving. A Blackstone wolf, massive, brown-furred, eyes filled with killing intent, lunged at her. Mia raised her blade, knowing it wouldn't be enough. Troy appeared between them. In full wolf form, he was magnificent. Dark bronze fur, golden eyes blazing, easily the size of a small horse. He met the Blackstone wolf with devastating force, tearing into its throat. But there were more coming, too many. Troy was surrounded, fighting 3 wolves at once. He was strong, but even he couldn't win against those odds. Something in Mia snapped. She didn't think, didn't question. She just moved, running toward Troy with her blade raised, screaming a battle cry that came from somewhere primal. Heat exploded through her body. Her vision sharpened. Her muscles sang with sudden strength. The blade in her hand felt like an extension of her arm as she drove it into the side of a wolf attacking Troy. The creature yelped and fell away. Troy spun to look at her, and even in wolf form she saw his surprise. Because Mia's eyes were glowing gold. Her wolf blood had awakened. She couldn't shift, didn't know how, but power coursed through her veins. She fought beside Troy, moving with instincts she didn't know she had, protecting his back while he protected hers. Together, they were unstoppable. Cora saw it too, saw the bond forming, the power rising. Her face twisted with rage. "Fall back!" she screamed at her wolves. "Fall back!" The Blackstone pack retreated, dragging their wounded. As they disappeared into the trees, Cora pointed at Mia. "This isn't over, Mia. You've just signed your death warrant." Then she was gone. The Silverheart wolves stood in the aftermath, panting, bleeding, but alive. Victorious. Troy shifted back to human form, not bothering with modesty. He was bleeding from several wounds, but his eyes were only on Mia. "Your eyes," he said hoarsely. Mia looked down at her hands. They were steady, strong, still humming with power. "I felt it. The wolf. It's inside me." It always was. Troy closed the distance between them, cupping her face in his hands. "You magnificent, terrifying woman. Is that a compliment?" "Always." And then he was kissing her. It was desperate, relieved, filled with the adrenaline of survival and the joy of finding each other alive. Mia kissed him back with everything in her, all the fear and hope and want she'd been holding back. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Troy pressed his forehead to hers. "I love you," he said, voice raw. "I've loved you since I was 10 years old and you told me everything would be okay. I'll love you when we're old and gray. I'll love you in every life after this one. And if you need more time, I'll wait. But I needed you to know." Mia's heart was so full it hurt. "I don't need more time." He pulled back to look at her. "I love you too," Mia said. The words felt right, true. "I don't know when it happened. Maybe in pieces over these weeks. Maybe all at once in that moment when I saw you fighting and knew I couldn't lose you. But I love you, Troy. And She took a breath. "I want the bond. I want forever." Troy's eyes shone. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." Around them, the pack was watching. Risa was grinning. Even Dane looked pleased. Troy's smile was incandescent. Then we do this right. He raised his voice. Let it be known, I claim Mia Shaw as my mate, by right of blood pact and by choice of both hearts. Let any who oppose speak now. Silence. Then as one, the pack howled, a joyous, wild sound that echoed through the forest. Troy pulled Mia close again, and this time when he kissed her, it was a promise. The bonding ceremony happened 3 days later, under a full moon. The entire pack gathered in a clearing deep in the forest. Mia wore a dress of deep green, simple and beautiful. Troy wore formal leathers, his hair unbound, looking every inch the alpha. Vera presided, speaking the old words, binding their souls, their lives, their futures. When it came time for the claiming mark, Troy met Mia's eyes. This will hurt for a moment. I trust you, Mia said simply. He bit down where her neck met her shoulder, not breaking skin, but leaving a mark that would identify her as his mate for all to see. The pain was sharp, then faded into warmth that spread through her entire body. The bond snapped into place. Suddenly, Mia could feel Troy's emotions, his love, his joy, his absolute certainty that she was his. And beneath it, the steady, unshakable devotion that had sustained him through 16 years of waiting. It was overwhelmingly perfect and right. When the ceremony ended and the pack celebrated, Troy pulled Mia aside. How does it feel? He asked quietly. Like coming home, she said. Like finding something I didn't know I was missing. They slipped away before the celebration ended, walking through moonlit forest to Troy's home. Their home now. Inside, with the door closed and the world shut out, they finally had their privacy. Troy was gentle, patient, giving Mia time to adjust to each new intimacy. And when they finally came together, the bond flared bright and true, sealing them for life. Afterward, lying in Troy's arms with her head on his chest, Mia felt more at peace than she ever had. Thank you, she murmured. For what? For waiting, for giving me the choice, for seeing me. Troy pressed a kiss to her hair. Thank you for choosing me. They fell asleep tangled together, the bond humming contentedly between them. Morning came too soon. Mia woke to find Troy already up, standing by the window with a troubled expression. What is it? She asked. Scouts came in during the night, Cora's rallying more packs, calling in old debts, making alliances. He looked at her. This isn't over. I know. Mia went to stand beside him. But we'll face it together. I won't let them hurt you. And I won't let them hurt you. She took his hand. That's what mates do, right? Protect each other. Troy smiled, but worry lingered in his eyes. You're too brave for your own good. I learned from the best. They stood together, watching the sun rise over Silverheart Forest, preparing for whatever came next. The war might not be over, but Mia had already won the battle that mattered. She'd found herself, found love, found home. Everything else was just details. Troy pulled her close, pressing a kiss to her temple. Through the bond, she felt his love, his pride, his absolute certainty that together they could face anything. And looking out at the forest that had become her sanctuary, Mia believed him. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Where are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. I love hearing your thoughts, and if you'd like to support me, please subscribe. It's free, and it helps more people hear these stories.